The room falls silent as you step onto the obsidian floor. Dusty tapestries line the walls, heavy with scenes of ancient glory. The air smells of incense, and something fouler beneath. At the far end, a figure lounges on a velvet divan. His face is that of a tiger, calm and cruel, eyes gleaming gold. Crimson robes drape over his frame and his hands twisted backward at the wrists. Ah, he purrs, rising with unsettling grace. The heroes arrive. I do so enjoy surprises. He bows with theatrical flair. I am Ravenastra, and you are far from home. His smile is too wide, his gaze too deep, and in the quiet that follows, something ancient stirs. This is the Rakshasa.
Welcome to another Monster Mastery episode of the It's a Mimic podcast, where you never know what you're going to get.
Hello, my name is Terry, and with me for every monster episode is Kyle, and today we're sitting down with Steven for this episode called Rakshasas and their backhanded insults.
This episode covers everything about the Rakshasa in 5.5 and the changes from the 5th edition material.
So, how familiar were you guys with these creatures before we started prepping for this episode? Like, how often have you seen them in a campaign?
I have never seen them in a campaign that I've played. I know of them. I know a little bit, the basics of their lore, but I've never explored them more deeply, and let me tell you why, and it's a really stupid reason. I don't like their backwards hands, and I did not want it in my game, and I said, everything about this monster is fantastic. I'm not dealing with those stupid hands, and that's the only reason I never used them.
You never thought about gloves?
Their hands still go backwards. I don't like it.
Yeah, no, it's just the palm where the back of the hand is.
Yeah, so
I thought their fingers curled backwards.
Yeah, you're not wrong. He's not wrong.
I guess. I guess that's what's also changed from 5.5 and 5e.
Yeah, they've got the weird curly fingers.
Yeah,
I had a completely different picture in my head of what a Rakshasa was. I was thinking more sort of like Indian god, like multi-armed.
Right.
And I think that's something else entirely. And then I started reading more about them and was like, oh, okay, yeah, no, I do recognize these as monsters. But yeah, the mental image I had in my head was something completely different.
Yeah, they are from Indian mythology, but they are demons in it.
Yeah.
I think you're thinking of Shiva. It's
Maybe,
the one
yeah.
with 100 arms.
Is Shiva the one with 100?
Yeah.
Okay.
Although
that's right.
Indian mythology is very deep. Like, there's all gods are part of the one god, and I'm not going to get into it because it's a long whole thing. But
I would be going, I'm not going to get into it because I have no idea.
Yeah.
The internet will be raging.
Yeah. It's very cool. It's very interesting. But I know quite a bit about these because I wanted to use them for a campaign that fell apart. So I've done quite a bit of research on them before. And I love these things. I think they're badass, and I think they're a great villain.
Kyle set us up for success here. Okay, well, I will take us through the themes and the lore, and let's learn a little bit more about Rakshasas. Rakshasas are masters of manipulation and infiltration. They originate from the 9 hells, and they're created by powerful devils through a dark ritual to escape the lower planes. They come to the material plane driven by a hunger for humanoid flesh and a desire to enact evil schemes. They carefully select their prey, and they keep their presence secret. Death on the material plane results in a torturous return to the 9 hells, where they reform over months or years, returning ultimately to seek revenge on their killer. They are not inherently allied with devils or demons. They prefer to pursue their own agendas of power and decadence. Their true form combines human-like bodies with the features of tigers traditionally, often having a sleek white tiger head with striking markings and blue eyes. A key physical oddity that we just mentioned is their palms are on the back of their hands and their fingers curl up towards the palm on the back of their hands. This remains even when they use magical disguises. They often dress in fine silks and adorn themselves with valuable objects. When it comes to themes, deception and manipulation are central to their nature. They thrive on controlling others from the shadows. They embody a hunger for power and a lust for luxury and vice. They enjoy toying with mortals, corrupting them, and then feeding on them. And their lawful evil alignment suggests a methodical and strategic approach to their evil schemes. For environments you're likely to find them in, urban environments, they infiltrate communities, they take on roles of power and influence such as nobles or rich merchants or even religious figures, and their lairs might be opulent mansions within the cities. When it comes to the Nine Hells, you're of course likely to find them there. This is their original plane, and they return here upon death on the material plane, and they may establish hidden lairs in remote locations within the Nine Hells to conduct their schemes or store their victims. For treasure that they might carry, including their gear, relics, the Monster Manual 2024 indicates that their treasure types are relics, suggesting they possess items of significant historical, religious, or magical importance, possibly tied to their fiendish origins or their schemes. You're likely to find fine clothing and jewelry. As beings who appreciate luxury, they would likely wear expensive garments and adornments. Magic items, of course, given their intelligence and magical abilities, they might possess magic items that aid in their deception, control, or escape. This could include items that enhance their spellcasting, grant invisibility, or aid in disguise, and of course you would find their wealth. As they often infiltrate positions of power, they are likely to accumulate significant amounts of gold, gems, and other valuable commodities. For their mannerisms, they're often described as indolent or lounging, even while plotting. They are likely to be charismatic and sophisticated in their disguises, capable of charming and manipulating others. In their true form, or when they're angered, they might display predatory feline mannerisms, and they employ misdirection and subtlety in their actions. What other creatures might you find with them? Well, charmed humanoids, of course. They often have guards and retainers who are under their magical influence from charm person, dominate person, some similar types of spells. Other Rakshasas, maybe greater Rakshasas, might have lesser Rakshasas in their service. Cultists and servants were individuals who willingly serve them for power, wealth, or out of fear. And then, of course, fiendish allies. While not always directly working with villains, they might occasionally form alliances with other fiends for specific goals. But what kind of loot might you find on their bodies or in their homes and their lairs? Well, on their bodies, expect to find jewelry and clothing, expensive jewelry and clothing, potentially magical rings, amulets, or other worn items, perhaps even a hidden pouch with gems or valuable components for their spells. You know, the spell components pouch is often something I find which is forgotten about in loot. In their homes and their lairs, expect to find large amounts of gold and precious gems, art objects, tapestries, and other luxurious furnishings, magical scrolls and spell books containing spells of illusion, most likely enchantment, and don't forget planar travel, potions and other consumable magic items, items used for disguise such as wigs, makeup, and changes of clothing. Again, I feel like these mundane types of items are often overlooked, but of course a Rakshasa would have wigs and makeup and changes of clothing. Evidence of their schemes such as ledgers, correspondence, or maps, possibly imprisoned victims and remnants of those they have consumed, and relics of art and artifacts of power or historical significance. And that, everybody, is Rakshasas.
Wow, did you even breathe through that whole thing?
Did you feel like I wasn't breathing?
Give her.
A little bit.
That was the first... You know, I still get nervous doing this podcast.
Honestly, I'm just impressed. I wasn't a criticism or anything.
No, fucking just
Like,
giving it.
Did I bang it out? Okay.
Yeah, you managed to do it and, like, without stumbling or anything. It was a lot.
Oh,
Yeah.
so, but thank you very kind. Kyle, as DM2, I'm handing over to you next. I believe you're going to take us through the stat block and other important information.
I am. I'm going to take you through the 5.5 stat block first.
Okay.
Just have one question before we moved on. I'm not sure that Rakshasas actually have charm or dominate person in their spell kit anymore.
Oh, they don't?
No.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
there we go.
Just a little side point there.
Important to note, though, is I just told the world that they do.
I know, yes.
When we say the word.
So you can just forget everything Terry just said.
Yeah, throw it all out.
Yeah.
Throw it all out.
So stats from 5.5. So they are medium, lawful, evil fiends with a CR of 13. They have 17 AC with 221 hit points, walking speed of 40 feet. Their highest stat is Charisma with a 20, followed by Constitution at 18, and their lowest is Intelligence with a lowly +1, which I find difficult to believe. I don't think it should be that low, but that's my own personal interpretation. For skills, they get a +10 to Deception, and then a +8 to Insight and Perception. They are vulnerable to piercing damage from weapons wielded by creatures under the effects of a Bless spell, which is complicated.
Yeah, that is very specific.
Yeah. They are immune to the Charmed and the Frightened conditions. They have True Sight out to 60 feet and can speak Common and Infernal. For traits, they get Fiendish Restoration, where if they die outside of the 9 hells, their body turns to ichor, which is goo, and while reviving instantly in a new body back somewhere in the 9 hells with all its hit points again. I assume also while shaking a clenched fist and yelling curses.
Backwards.
Yeah, backwards fist while yelling curses. They also have greater magical resistance, where they automatically succeed on saving throws against spells and other magical effects, while attack rolls to hit them automatically miss it. No spell can observe the Rakshasa remotely, detect its thoughts, creature type, or alignment without its express permission. And so I'm kind of curious if this means that, like, when a spell like that is cast against it, if it knows it's incoming, what kind of spell it is, and will sometimes let them go through just to, like, trick whoever's trying to spy on them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, with a +1 intelligence, probably not.
Probably not, but you never know. So for actions, they get a multi-attack, allowing them to make 3 cursed touch attacks per turn. So the cursed touch attack is a melee attack with a +10 to hit, and it deals 2d6 plus 5 slashing damage, as well as 3d12 necrotic. Yeah, and if dealing this damage to a creature, that creature becomes cursed and gains no benefits for short or long rests, which is intense. So it doesn't even go away if you kill it. You have to get healed from a curse, yeah.
Yeah.
So they also have Baleful Command, which recharges on a 5 or a 6, forcing each enemy within a 30-foot emanation to make a DC 18 Wisdom saving throw, where on a fail, they take 8d6 psychic damage, and the target has the frightened and incapacitated conditions until the beginning of the Rakshas's next turn. And then it also gets charisma-based spellcasting with a spell save DC of 18, where at will they can cast Detect Magic, Detect Thoughts, Disguise Self, Mage Hand, and Minor Illusion. While also once a day can cast Fly, Invisibility, Major Image, and Plane Shift.
Some half-decent little spell list there.
Yeah. And you know, when I see things like that, the cursed touch there, kind of makes me think I wouldn't just... Maybe I'd put this Rakshasa in, then take it out, then in, then take it out. Like, if you knew you could do that, wouldn't you just be trying to sneak into their camp or get to them while they're asleep or something in the tavern, just curse one of them, maybe come back the next night, pick a particular target within the party that you want to come back to all the time? I don't think I would just have them sitting in their lair necessarily. Not at first.
Yeah.
Well, you
A
really
returning villain.
take advantage of those exhaustion stacks as they start to pile up, right?
That's right, yeah. Yeah, their intelligence is not too high to +1, but I mean, mine is definitely not +1. And
still above average, right? Yeah.
They're not dummies.
No. All right. Well,
that's on to you, Stephen. What's changed?
That brings us to what's changed. So, I mean, the Rakshasa has been hit with an interesting array of ups and downs, honestly. At the end of the day, we're sort of looking at a fairly mechanically similar monster, but for completely different reasons, which sounds kind of confusing, so let me explain. In the Rakshasas in 5th were awash in damage immunities. If it wasn't magical and tried to deal bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing damage, it just literally didn't do anything. It just could tank, like most of the types of weapons that would come at it. It was only vulnerable to piercing magical weapons held by good creatures. So instead of them having to be blessed, they just had to be good, which I mean, if we're being honest, it's most parties that are going to be sort of encountering it anyways. The new version, though, does lose a lot of this, as we sort of just went over. It doesn't. The piercing is sort of more limited to just blessed people, and then the resistances have just been dropped down to not being able to be charmed or frightened. So it is a lot sort of more vulnerable to just basic attacks. However, to make up for this, the amount of HP it has been doubled. Like the amount of HP the original Rakshasa used to have was like on par with stuff that was around like CR 7 or 5,
right?
Which is about half of what its challenge rating is itself. It was really relying a lot on all of these protective resistances to sort of keep itself alive, instead of having just a large pool of HP, which is sort of where they've taken it in this direction. And then, considering that the 5th ed version was sort of immune to only non-magical attacks, the next change is a little bit surprising. In 5th, it had limited magic immunity, which effectively just kept it from being affected or detected by spells of 6th level or lower, and gained advantage on saving throws against anything else magical. Our new version has been upgraded to the greater magic resistance, which again has the ability to keep them from having to make saves, but doesn't have that protective sort of like anything below 6th is going to bounce off. Now, anything can be thrown at it. It's better at sort of throwing it off as a result of whatever the damage is doing. Yeah,
even 9th level spells are going to do nothing to it.
Well, it will save them, but you can target them with 6th. So like I could cast Magic Missile at the new version, and it would would work. The old one, you couldn't use magic missile on it at all because 6th and lower we just couldn't target it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So there's a wider range, but it's better at defending against all of them.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
But I like this one doesn't have the level restrictions, and it just says, I guess, because there's no save for magic missile, and you're not targeting it. Yeah, because you don't roll to attack with it. But I mean, almost every other spell requires.
Well, say something like, I mean, Fireball is a 5th level spell, correct?
Yeah.
So like Fireball, before you couldn't even really use it on it. It would be immune to it.
Yeah.
Now you can use it, but it'll automatically save and do half damage.
Right.
So that's the difference.
Interesting. Okay. I didn't think about it like that.
Yeah, so it's a plus and a minus. Like, it's kind of like, again, it's really interesting the way that they've adjusted things because it's all on sliders. They've sort of pumped up a lot of like one thing at the cost of this other thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is really a very different style of like how these monsters are going to fight in combat. Again, like it does have that pool of spells that we talked about before, but the ones that they used to have more, and they used to be able to use them more. So the old Rakshasa had an at-will pool, a once-per-day pool, and a 3-per-day pool. So there was actually a larger like grouping of spells, and then there was that 3 per day that allowed them to cast the same spell 3 times, which is something that they don't even have access to anymore. It's all once per day or at will. There's been some offensive changes, and the original Rakshasa was only able to do 2 attacks in its multi-attack. Now we're up to 3. And the cursed touch that it has now is effectively the same as Claw, but it has necrotic damage, which it didn't used to. So before it was just a physical attack, I think slashing damage,
probably, yeah.
put on the curse, and that was it. It's also really interesting reading the 5th description of Claw because it describes the curse better than the 5.5 version does. The 5.5 version just says it's cursed and you can't gain benefits from short or long, but the reasoning behind that is because of nightmares and like the inability to rest, and it also explains the only way to get rid of it is through a remove curse spell. The Baleful Command ability that Kyle talked about is brand new. That's something that didn't have before. And then the last thing that I noticed is it does have a little boost to its perception. It's now trained in that, and it has an increase to its passive perception as a result, as well as getting an upgrade from dark vision up to true sight, which is realistically a really big upgrade for its vision.
So just reminders on true sight, can see through invisibility. It can see true forms, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And also everything that dark vision can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
Pretty good.
Okay, interesting changes. Actually, I quite enjoyed those. Okay, so let's roll initiative here. I want to get your guys' ideas on a few different things here. We'll let Kyle finish his note, and then 11.
Roll 1.
Knock me up to a 30. Who's yellow again? I wasn't.
Yeah, that was me. It also knocked me up to a 13.
Okay, we gotta roll off. Okay, I'm going first, then Kyle, then Steve. Okay, here we go. So Terry, I want to know, was that right? Did I have that right?
Me, then Kyle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All good.
Okay. Okay, so first thing I want to ask myself then is about how would I view the mannerisms and eclectic behaviors of a Rakshasa? I think that I would have them, there would certainly be a calm arrogance about these creatures. I feel like they would always feel like they're in control. Like, it is not possible that anybody else in that room is one step ahead of them, especially with their true sight, with their charisma, so that they feel confident in their conversations, that they can manipulate the people around them. Their status that they would bring, people would naturally, when people appear to be of a higher status in a room with you, naturally we kind of just shrink a little bit more. Nobody's ever shouting their mouth off around billionaires. And so I think I would play it that way, that they would just have such an arrogant, a calm, collected arrogance to them.
Yeah.
That's how I would play them.
That's fair. Yeah, I think that's definitely, I think, what the core like sort of vibe that they would give off. But I think the really cool thing about Rakshasas is that they can be other animals. So like white tiger might sort of be like the default standard, but there's also, you can have like sort of like a lizard folk, you can have like a bird folk, like there's lots of different types of Rakshasa, and I think each one would sort of have their own vibe based on their sort of origin. It makes me sort of think, I don't know if either of you guys are Star Trek nerds or not, but like the Zindi from Enterprise, where they had like a different sort of like almost like animal counterpart, and each of them had a different sort of role in society because of based on like, like these ones are sort of the thinkers, these ones are the warriors, like, and I think that you could probably find a little bit of play in that kind of a way of interacting with that kind of a monster where it has such a broad spectrum of potential types.
Yeah. Actually, in previous editions, there were a bunch of different kinds of Rakshasas as well.
Specifically.
Yeah, specifically.
So it used to be different kinds, then it went to only tigers, and then it's gone back to different kinds.
Well, no, it was like different kinds of tigers. Like, it was always tigers.
Right.
But they had different abilities. Like, some were more spellcasters, and some were more like upfront warriors, or like scouts kind of thing. I think it was more like of a mechanical difference, and they had some personality differences, but I can't remember too much off the top of my head. It's been a while since I read about them. But yeah, I agree with both of you guys. I kind of picture them as like suave Bond villains.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Sure, yeah.
Like, that's kind of how they react. I totally agree. They're going to be arrogant and full of themselves and believe that nobody could ever beat them because they are the smartest person in the room. So I think, yeah, definitely ego, and they would love to have their like ego stroked. They are surrounded by yes men kind of thing always.
Yeah. What about the creature's attitudes towards its companions, if any? I feel as though I don't think, even though we kind of all imagine this creature to be arrogant, I don't think it would talk down to its companions. I feel like it would try and keep everybody on side. It would almost, as though it's making you feel like the most important person in the room, as though you're true, man, there's just something about that guy, like, just that guy gets me, you know. And it's just almost like a politician in a way. It's just in their nature, in their habit, the way they converse with people is to bring them on side with them, whether it's through magical manipulation or just in their own sort of suave coolness. I don't feel like they would ever want to jeopardize relationships. They would want to try and keep everybody on side with them.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think, like, to take it to one more level, I feel like it's sort of that kind of villain that, like, when you've messed up, he goes, no, you're fine. It's okay. Come here. And then snaps your neck.
Yeah.
You know, like, like once I realize, like, once you know that I am unhappy with you, it's way too late. Like, it's over. You're done. I think it's that kind of level of, like, control. Yeah. Keep the people happy. Keep the minions doing what they're supposed to do. Think they're working for you. Like, you're on, like, the same page until it's done and you don't need them anymore. That kind of vibe.
Yeah. With the detect thoughts at will, too. Like, it knows exactly what you want to hear at any given time. And that's what it's going to do. It'll fit, move into any situation. So, yeah, but it's always going to believe that it's better. They will have no problem throwing anybody under the bus with zero hesitation.
Yes. Yeah. Because, I mean, it did say as well, like, it generally operates on its own, but I see that more as a, like, I don't have equals, I have people who work for me.
Yeah.
And then I make them feel like equals.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with detect thoughts at will, there's two stages to that, right? You can get the surface thoughts without having to force the save. So you don't even need to probe that deeply. Just when they're conversing with you, when they're trying to manipulate you, they detect thoughts at will. It's how are they responding to that? Do they like that? Are they happy? Oh, they didn't like what I just did. Let me change the tactic here. And to be able to do that at will all day, and ultimately that's going to work in your favor with a large population that you can, you might not get everybody 100%, but most of the time that's a significant advantage to have. Is what are people thinking based on what I do? Now you might hate it, like, sometimes people might walk in and you will detect their thoughts and they might be like, this dick, and you're like, great, perfect. I'm just trying my hardest out here, doing my best. And does anybody have any unique descriptions that come to mind of how they would play a Rakshasa? Maybe not going down the typical silks and robes and tiger.
I mean,
it was me first. Yeah. It was me. I think I do them as a politician. I do them suited and booted. I'm kind of thinking Frank Underwood off House of Cards. Puts the accent on a little bit in public, then it drops away when he's in private, and he's everybody's hero. I'm here for you,
Yeah, I mean, the idea of sort of like a mob boss comes to mind. I'm not sure that that's a unique description per se, but like I think that like Fisk. Wilson Fisk would make a real good Rakshasa. He's got that kind of vibe to him. Yeah.
I can definitely see that. Okay, so I had this idea. I had this campaign that I planned out where I was going to use a Rakshasa as the main bad guy. And it's basically like a Dickensian mining town. And he is like a baron, with a useless king who's just kind of, there to take all the heat, right?
Yep.
Well, he controls things from the back, but then he is also the leader of like the resistance in the back, and he's basically just using his position as the resistance leader to take out his political enemies at the same time.
That's pretty cool.
So working from behind the scenes, really, not being the face and the front.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that how it'd be really interesting, like from a party perspective as well. You come in to help the resistance.
Yeah.
Think you're doing good things.
Yeah.
And then it turns out all these people you've gone and like offed were, people that were standing in this guy's way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the idea is like the people you make them go after are also evil, but then it sort of becomes evident that you're only targeting like certain people and not this one dude. And like, why aren't you going after him too? He's bad. But yeah, he's just using you as like, a way to get rid of his political enemies.
Yeah.
Nice.
And clear the way.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's what they say, right? All the most powerful people, you don't know their name. So I don't know if people are saying that. I just feel like that's what
They're saying it now.
they're saying. Yeah, I'm people, and I've said that. Let's go a little bit deeper into this. How do you think nearby civilizations, or even the civilization that the Rakshasa has implanted themselves in, how do you feel that they would be changed by its presence? And I certainly feel like it would be that city, county, whatever kind of first, and that Rakshasa would put everybody else as the enemy. They're trying to build up their own civilization, and it's because of these people that we don't have what we want, or these people have taken these things away from us. They're the other, we're correct, and I feel like they would build up loyalty in that sense, so that it always seems like the Rakshasa is doing the right thing for the people, kind of similar to what you just said there, where they would play two sides off against each other, but both sides would always think they're the best person to have in the spotlight and leading their team. And so I think they would do it that way. They would make themselves seem a hero to their people, and that the threat is always coming from other people.
Okay.
That's cool. Yeah, I wonder if like this could be looked at from more of a like a military side point, because I mean, if they have any kind of say about like what kind of weapons are being used, or how sort of the county or the civilization that they're in is being formed. If I'm super weak to piercing weapons, maybe we don't have archers. Maybe that's just not something we need. Maybe we should really focus on, our ground forces. Let's get them in some big bulky armors with some big, Tetsubo club type weapons.
Yeah.
That sounds great. Because if there's ever an uprising, sure, come at me with your clubs. Like, let's go, kind of thing, right? Like, it's not as big of a deal. But like, if there's archers, well, that's a direct threat to me. Bless isn't a hard spell to find.
Yeah,
that's kind of risky.
Yeah.
Maybe we just take that option off the table. Like that could be a way that they sort of protect themselves preemptively.
Right.
Yeah.
They'd have to build it up over time. That's how you change people. Like, some civilizations, they say it's better without archers. And then the next stage is like, well, it's taking up a lot of wood, and we feel like these resources would be better elsewhere, to the point of it is unethical to use archers. And if you're still asking to use archers, you're wrong.
Look at this rapier. It's so flimsy. Let's get rid of these things. Huh?
Did you know that the leading cause of stabbings in old towns are knives?
Exactly that. Okay, great. I want to spend a few more minutes on doing this. So my next question for you is, when it comes to loot, I gave some examples of loot, but what would you have on your Rakshasas, either on their person, or let's do their lair as well, or in their lair for the party to pick up and enjoy? Terry, I'll answer first. That's right. I like items or clothing that can change the status of the party, so they can move into different positions of power. For example, in my campaign, I like to leave signet rings, scrolls of pedigree, robes of different status and things, and maybe only have one or two, so only one or two members of the party get a certain status, and others will get like a lower rank thing, uniforms, that type of thing, so that then they have to be clever with how they can use them. And also, if you put toys out, the party will play with them. So I would absolutely have wigs and makeup and maybe fake tattoos and all of that sort of stuff, because they love that stuff and they will certainly use it. I'd have a big sort of dress up box, probably a closet with all kinds of walk-in closet with all kinds of different items, different types of boots, and let the party just up their mundane gear that they forget about, because I later use that to remind my party of what they look like when they roll into town. I'll do this for anything. If they just got into a fight in a sewer and they want to walk walk straight into somewhere, I'd be like, you walk into the library stinking of shit, remember?
Yeah.
But I would do it in this same way. You're still wearing the wig. You're still covered in face paint. You're still whatever. You've got Spider-Man on you. Whatever. But yeah, that's certainly what I would have for mundane loot.
Okay, so when you're offering like two of the party an upgrade in status,
well, I'm not giving them the upgrading status. The person that they killed was of a higher status, and they now have access to their clothes.
Yeah, but they can step into those shoes.
Yes, literally. Yes.
So are you interested in, I don't know, tempting the party to be like, well, should we just replace them?
No, it's just there. Do what you want with it. It's up to them to make a decision.
All right. It sounds like a good way to like tempt him in like a devilish way, you know? Like, you know, it's right there.
You could take that angle, absolutely. Yeah, it's always fun to tempt the party.
Nature abhors a vacuum.
That's right. Yeah, I see what you're saying, and yeah, you absolutely could do that. I like to just put loaded guns around and then just be like, just see what they want to do with it.
Yeah, you know? Who knows? I think another really cool thing that you could do with, like, maybe not so much as loot, but as a plot hook or reason to be sort of at conflict with this kind of a monster, is because relics are sort of their thing, it would be interesting to sort of play into the idea that, like, this Rakshasa is a collector of, like, holy relics, and is sort of, like, using these relics as points of reference into the powers that come from the holy. And so they collect them, and they study them, and they kind of go, like, okay, I understand how this god works better, and like playing into the idea that they have sort of magical immunities and so on and so forth. They're using this knowledge to sort of protect themselves against, you know, this type of a god, or to profane that kind of god. And so as the party, you get sort of a missive from, you know, your deity of choice. They're like, hey, like, this dude's been messing with our stuff, and like it's causing our powers on this plane to be weakened. Can you go get this back from him, because it's kind of becoming an issue and it's ticking me off. Like, you know, go collect this pantheon of relics back from this dude who is messing with them.
Interesting. This goes back to the idea of like, how would a society be different with a Rakshasa in like a power position? It'd be a lot more atheists. Right? But at the same token of wanting to keep piercing weapons away, you want to keep clerics away. So, you know, like, oh, these religious nut jobs, or, you know, they're trying to brainwash you. They're trying to...
Yeah, let's cleanse the city of churches. And,
knowing fine well that they come from the nine hells. And
that's smart. Yeah, good point.
That is very smart, Kyle.
Thank you. I got it because of Steve.
It was joint effort, man. Yeah. Joint effort. Yeah, we got there together.
Congratulations, you two.
How about you, Kyle? Do you got any like loot stuff or?
I mean, nothing that really stands out. Yeah, I just imagine a lot of like opulent stuff, and they would have a lot of rare collections of art. I also imagine like kind of devious art, and like, okay, so in Candlekeep, the book, there's like one adventure where there's hags that are using like demon paint to like capture people's youth. So I would imagine stuff like that, right? Like there's a lot of evil in their collection.
Right, and like cursed objects and
those objects and paintings and the like would be worth more as well. Right?
Yeah.
Which makes sense. They would do that. Yeah. Yeah, because they would care so much more about the value rather than the...
Yeah, but like the uniqueness and something that you can't get anywhere else. Something that you can brag about.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's switch fire here to combat tactics. What do you think a Rakshasa's preferred combat tactics would be in the open? And I'll answer first because I rolled highest. I feel like I'm leaning into this position of power in the town or something. I imagine that they would use their own people as cannon fodder, and it would be like a lot of commoners. If we're fighting in the open, I'm thinking marketplace or at a rally or something like that. They've got no problem using a bunch of lawful good commoners as their blockade so that they don't get hit. They can move further back. They can charm people from a distance, and then the party has the difficult task of navigating their way through crowds of people that they know they shouldn't be killing, and likely, well, I would have it as the DM that those commoners are trying to attack the party, thinking that the party is the bad guy, because you're here to kill our beloved leader, and of course everybody knows that the Rakshasa is good, and so I would use innocence as my protection in the open.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, super devious. Because, I mean, generally, this isn't the kind of monster you're going to stumble across on the road. You're not going to, it's not going to be a random encounter generally. This is going to be somebody who is set up, working a scheme, and it's going to be a very, aggressive attack on his defensive position. And so, it'll be, in his city, it'll be in the town, it'll be in the mining, community, whatever it might be. And definitely going to utilize his, home field advantage against you, right? Mm-hmm. Really wants to whittle you down before he has to come in and clean you up himself.
Yeah. I imagine you're going to have to corner him. You're not going to find the Rakshasa, ready for a stand-up battle. It's going to hit you and run, and you're going to have to, it's going to use major image and fly and invisibility to run and plane shift, right? You got to plan out how you're going to keep them in one spot, right? You're going to have to lay an ambush. They're never going to walk into a battle. They always want to fight from behind something or not fight at all. Or, hit you and run using innocence, definitely, strapping a bunch of babies to itself.
Sure. Final question. When does the monster retreat and how? I think it's retreating probably not long after it's bloodied, right? Get it down to half hit points. It feels like it's on the back foot. It's losing control. It knows it has a torturous death ahead of it, and it's not going to go well for him if it does reach 0 hit points. And how? I think it is putting as many minions or innocents in front of it as it can, probably dropping invisibility and likely escaping through an exit that it knows of that nobody else does if it's in its lair, or using the open space within the town somewhere to escape. But I think it's going to try and retreat fairly early. I think preservation is most important to this creature. It's not going to try and fight to the death.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate. I mean, Kyle kind of said it as well, that it's probably going to use a lot of its spells to sort of use exit strategies from that. Fly, generally a pretty good way to get away. Turning invisible, or even just creating a major image, and having that sort of be a decoy while it escapes. Those are sort of, I think, what those are built in there for, to allow it to either gain an advantageous position or get away, depending on where they're at in the fight. Mm-hmm. So, both of those seem like really, really strong positions for it to be in, to have that upper hand and get away as it needs to.
Yeah. I imagine comic book villainy, where it's you can either save this innocent person or you can capture me.
Yeah,
but you can't do both. Ah, ha, ha, ha,
yeah,
ha.
for sure.
That kind of shit. It's going to run right away.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then come back when it has the advantage. When you're sleeping, and try to get you down so you can't rest anymore. And then, after you're exhausted and you can't regain spells and you have almost nothing left, that's when it's going to come.
Yeah.
Right?
I love it. Okay, we're going to roll again for my final 3 questions here. I'll take yellow this time.
Black for me.
It's I get to roll 3 times.
Okay.
All right.
Kyle, you're
19,
first with the 19.
yeah.
Then me with the 16. And Steve
I'm
with the
up
15. Okay, Kyle. Overall, how do you feel about the updated Rakshasa compared to the original 5th edition version?
I feel pretty good. I don't know. I wish I had a little more spell casting, but you can always make up for it right in the lore, right? With the items. It's going to have a bunch of magic stuff on it, so you can customize it very well. I think the magic thing is interesting. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I think it definitely is going to it's going to force your party to be more creative in how they deal with it, because there's still some ways you can target it without targeting it directly. But I kind of liked the whole nothing below 6th level, because it's I don't know, you have to use your good big spells. Mm-hmm. And, you got to be creative with it, and it gives it more of a, I don't know. I think it gave a better threat. Right. But
yeah, it felt like a higher level threat. I agree with you on the 6th level magic stuff. I do enjoy the beefed up hit points though. So overall, I think I do quite enjoy it. I'm just reminding myself of some of the changes here. Beefed up hit points for me is a big one, even though it's just a simple change, because it means I can have them in the fight for longer, and I, as the DM, can be a little braver with them and get the Rakshasa closer to the party, whether it's to start monologuing or just to have a little bit more face time or even act out a scene or something, knowing that it's not just going to get KO'd right away. Sometimes parties get lucky or they're smart or something like that. I've got maybe 1 or 2 more rounds to get out of there if I need to. But I quite like with a lot of the updated monsters. I do quite like this, actually.
Yeah, I think it, sort of to echo a lot of what's already been said, I think the thing about the Rakshasa is the old version was a puzzle to be solved. But once it was solved, that fight was probably done unless it took you too long. You know, really, you're coming in there and like once you figure out what it's weak to and what you can hit it with, it's going to go down quite quickly because at the level you're at, to be fighting a level like a CR 13 monster, 100 hit points is nothing. The trick was figuring out how to get that 113 hit points. And that was what the encounter really was. It wasn't just your standard, you know, monster mash, like let's get in there and hit it. It was okay, we hit it and it kind of just laughed at me.
Yeah.
Why? And that was an interesting sort of like combat encounter. And now it is more of sort of like, okay, we're going to hit this thing a bunch. It's going to hit us a bunch. And one of us is going to hit the other more. And that person's going to win. And like, that is fine. We have lots of monsters like that. I do lament the loss of some of that little bit of interplay and sort of mystery. But I also get why it is less fun because sure, like first round, your good aligned dude happens to be an archer, shoots it in the face, and it gets double damage, and it freaks out. And like, you know, you're like, oh, okay, we should do more of that. And then that fight is trivialized.
Yeah.
But if you don't, and you're not sure, and you're like throwing spells at it, and it's just walking through them and not giving a shit, and you know, your barbarian's in there slashing at it with a freaking axe, and it's not doing anything, you're like, okay. You know, that's one of those moments where the party looks to each other across the table and goes, oh no, you know, like what are we doing wrong? This is not working the way we expect it to.
Right.
So I lament the loss of that a little bit.
For sure. Yeah. Are you guys likely to use the Rakshasa as a DM in the future, Kyle?
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. It's comically evil, and I fucking love comically evil.
yeah, for sure. Me too. When you said the comic book villain and the two, who are you going to save? You can't save both or something. You know, that really changed it for me a little bit in my mind. I thought that would be great. Because D&D parties, they love that type of scene. I don't mind leaning into the cheesy tropes like that because then that party gets to enjoy that trope that maybe they never got to do.
Yeah.
You know, maybe they never got to do the Batman Forever scene where Robin goes down and is over, and I forget what happens. But you know what I mean? So this is the perfect villain to try and do that with. So yeah, I would absolutely use them as well.
Yep, I'm on the same page. They're really cool. And like lawful villains, like lawful evil villains are always really interesting, I find. It's a great sort of design space for a big bad. And I could see it being like a really good sort of like end of mid-level encounter kind of vibe. So yeah, 100%.
Sure.
I think it'd be great for like a role-playing campaign too. You know, like there's a lot of interplay. There's like a slow burn that you can do with this.
Yeah.
Right, and it's kind of like a puzzle for the party to figure out at first. I mean, the backwards hand thing might be interesting to do. I'd be a little worried about them finding out too quickly about it.
Right.
If that's all they did. But yeah, I guess you could just never have them
just get some long sleeves, you know, monk style.
Ooh, yeah. You know,
very pious looking, you know, like that could work.
So if they're like playing tennis, is their backhand a forehand? Like is everything reversed?
And that's also how they have to slash, I guess, too.
Right.
Everything is...
Do they jerk on?
We got almost all the way to the end. We were on the final question, which is this. Kyle, do you have any final thoughts? And let me help you because I know that's a tough question. Do you have, when I say final thoughts, anything that you think the world should remember about this creature when playing them, or anything that you think they should certainly include?
Yeah, definitely throw innocent people. I love your idea of throwing innocent people in the way when you're in the fight, right? Like, that's how you get rid of the fireball, is have a whole bunch of peasants, right? Like, right around them. So it kind of gets in the way of that whole loophole, right? Is if you surround them with innocent people that you don't want to die. Put that good NPC that the party is actually connected with close by the Rakshasa, and it's using that as a human shield, essentially.
I took that from Adam, who was talking before about, I forget what the situation was, but a party raiding an orc village or going back to burn it down, and when they got there, all of the warriors were away, and it was only the pregnant female orcs, the children, and the elderly. Yeah. And it was like, well, what do we still do it? What do we do? So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's really covered pretty well. Like, it is really just one of those kind of monsters that is really fun to play around with. And the new version, definitely a little bit simplified, but I can understand why, that maybe the complexity of that encounter could really, it would be hard to determine how that was going to go. I could see that turning into a TPK very easily if your party comes unprepared or unaware of sort of what they should be doing. You know, the guy who uses a bow is sick that week. Like,
Mm-hmm.
well, damn, you know, like
It's sick that week.
I mean, I kind of like
adventure.
that idea. That's why I think that also kind of is an advantage if you play this like they are running away from every battle, right? You're giving your party multiple chances to kind of figure out where the weaknesses are. Oh, this worked this one time, we'll remember it for next time we're in this battle.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
That way you don't risk a TPK necessarily right away, right? And you give them a little chance to learn the vulnerabilities and you can kind of ease into it.
And the longer it takes you to figure it out, the more stacks of exhaustion your party is picking up because, Bob the Barbarian is over there like crying in his sleep and,
As they do when, no one is looking.
Absolutely.
Barbarians. Perfect. Okay, Kyle, get us out of here.
Thank you all for joining us for another episode of the It's a Mimic podcast. You can find us on all your podcast apps, which I'm sure you already know since you're listening to us right now.
From one of those podcasts.
From one of those podcast apps. So, recommend us to your friends.
That's all for this Monster Mastery episode of the It's a Mimic podcast. This episode and others can also be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and most other podcast apps. Please take a second to engage with a like, follow, subscribe, comment, or review to help us push our engagement. Thanks for listening to the It's a Mimic podcast, where you never know what you're going to get.
So October is over. Man, did we blitz through October. There was a lot. But there's also going to be quite a bit in November as well as we gear up towards the final month of the year, which is jam-packed full of content. But for now, we're taking a little break and we're only releasing 4 episodes. Oh my god, it never ends. So today, obviously, was the Rakshasas episode, which you've listened through. Tomorrow, we're going to be getting into Pathfinder 2nd Edition conversions into Dungeons & Dragons 5.5. Obviously, this is going to be with Scott, so it's a Platinum Great Worm episode. Anyone following along in that series knows that we talk about Pathfinder with Scott. So this is going to be a conversion. It's kind of like part 1. We do even more. We get into the monsters and stuff the next time I talk to him. Well, the next time around. So then on Thursday, on the Patreon, we've got a little bit of homebrew ideas, some scenarios thrown around, where we get into summoning rituals and making ritualistic summoning a little bit more fantastical, bombastic, interesting, and meaning. And then on Friday is part 2, the middle segment of our Alien RPG Let's Play. If you haven't checked out part 1, I highly recommend it. It's one of the things we're the most proud of on the channel so far, and it's a bit of a slow burn to get started, but I promise there will be massive payoffs by the end of this 3-part series. But for now, let's get to some good stuff, shall we? Alright, it's the end of a monster episode, so that means it's time to look back into the history of D&D and see what other inspirations might be collecting dust. And so that means today we're heading back into 4th edition to look at Rakshasas there. Now, there were a lot of different kinds of Rakshasas. Like, there are so many that are littered across so many bestiaries. Like, there's even a handful across 5th edition, but they're all spread out into other books. So it doesn't surprise me that we got 5 stat blocks in the base monster manual in 4th edition. So let me break them down really quickly to give you the flavor so that you can have more than just the standard spell casting super scary Rakshasas that we're used to, and you can have still super scary but different flavors of them. So the first, and these are all, I think, CR 15 and above. So you have to you keep in mind that it's not the same as it was that it is in 5th edition. So, for example, you've got a level 15 encounter. It's supposed to have 2 Rakshasa archers, 2 warriors, and then a couple of other creatures on top of that. But they're both listed as level 15, right? So you should be at this level to start thinking about dealing with them, but encounters were built very, very difficultly, so take that with a grain of salt. The point is we're in tier 3, all right? The warriors themselves are essentially just like tiger people, backwards hands, that same kind of flavor. They're all like cat people in this, but some of them are like black panthers, most of them are just tiger, right? But they've got a great big fucking shield, so their AC is really freaking good. and they've got amazing saves across the board. But they make 2 attack rolls, so they're always attacking with, the way that they phrase it is, make 2 attack rolls and keep the better results, so it's always advantage. And that's nuts, is that they're always rolling with advantage. They also get a Tiger Pounce, which means they are able to go after a enemy that's 5 feet away. So like they can run and then pounce the last little bit, and they get a bonus to their attack on that, right? And then essentially after that, they're just making a couple of attacks with their longsword as well. So their tactics are really all about running forward and then pouncing on other rounds. And I would flavor it so that this includes a disengage, so that it can actually be bouncing around your party if they're like covering each other. Maybe let them pounce 10 feet from a standing position over another creature, and as long as it's like medium size or smaller, and landing somewhere within 10 feet of its original square, so it can get to the back rank, like spellcasters and whatnot. That's fucking terrifying. That's just the warrior. We've got more. We also have archers. Archers will keep their distance, obviously, but they have a double attack as well, which means that they're making multiple attacks as well. That was kind of rare in 4th edition that you get multiple attacks. So this has multi-attack, and again, it's got one really cool thing called Ghost Arrow. So the idea here is that this does necrotic damage, but the target also cannot heal, and that's fucking scary. I would have that be until like the end of its next turn, but that's upsetting. That like when you find out that you just got hit by something and you can't heal back up, we're talking about a tier 3 party. You're kind of relying on heals a lot of the time to go up against enemies, especially groups of enemies, and these archers will be moving in groups. The next one is a low tier 4 skirmisher, which means that this one is supposed to get right in and close and personal with you, and this is the Rakshasa Assassin. So if it moves at least 10 feet on its turn, it can use what's called Shadow Form to pass through solid barriers as it heads towards its target. It then uses something called Phantom Distraction to gain advantage against prey before making a double attack with its short sword. So the way that the distraction works, and the reason that it gets this advantage, is because it forces the opponent to become dazed, which would translate to be somewhere between stunned and incapacitated. So it would hit you with some sort of minor magical illusion to just dazzle you for a moment, and then it gets to hit with this. That's really fun and flavorful and scary that it can move through walls when it runs. This is going to be a hit and run ambusher, which is cool. The 4th one is the Rakshasa Noble, and the Noble likes to stay back outside of melee combat, and what it does is it uses a phantom image, and it recharges on a 5 or a 6, right? And that's a really cool, like, kind of reaction that you'd be able to give it. It also has Mind Twist, which stuns a target and does 3d6 plus 7 psychic damage. Not many players are going to be able to shrug that off too easily. But it also has something called Phantom Lore. If it is 100 feet away, anybody within like 100 feet of it has to make a wisdom save. It can choose like one person, and it essentially like slides them in that direction. It psychically pulls them. It's considered a charm, like that person just kind of like turns around and walks towards them in the lore. But I like the idea of just you fail your wisdom save and are just dragged psychically back 5 feet towards the noble. And the last one, which is like a top tier, like tier 4 kind of creature here. You're dealing with incredible initiative. It's got an aura. Any enemies in the aura will only gain half of their healing. Like if every time that they get healed, like they only recover half of whatever they would normally get. It is just an absolute monster on saves and AC. And the idea here is that it has just a ton of attacks, so multi-attack, but it's all kind of like longsword based. It is a knight, right? So it is going to do a ton of damage, and you're essentially marking creatures as you go. Once somebody gets marked, then there would be additional attacks upon them on subsequent rounds. And the other really cool thing about it is they can fly up to 30 feet, but they have to land at the end of their turn, or they fall, and that recharges on a 5 or a 6. So there are a lot of really cool Rakshasas to deal with, and we need to start beefing up our basic ones that we're getting in the monster manual at this point. They're good, they're neat. Like in the episode, we quite like them. However, there are a lot more opportunities to get really fucky with these guys, as they're a full-blown species and not just a weird, like hags where there's one over here and one over there, right? Or death knights where you only run into one at a time. No, you can run into tons of Rakshasas, a city full of them, and they're all going to have different powers. So now that I've dug up all these details, the question for you is, how are you going to make your Rakshasas more memorable the next time you use them? If you'd like to support us, we have a store with some merch and a donate button on our website, itsamimic.com. You can also head to itsamimic.com to find a comprehensive episode guide and more information about the show. We do have a Patreon, which not only offers access to our exclusive Discord server, but also hosts over 100 episodes, including a variety of bonus episodes covering topics like 5th edition book reviews and the campaign builder, spells and gods, fae, homebrew inspiration, and even the Blood War. If you'd like to submit any mailbag questions, please reach out to us through any of the social media links in the show notes of this episode, or send us an email at info@itsamimic.com. This has been an episode of It's a Mimic, where you never know what you're going to get.